I just didn't intend to bring this, but when we were reading the Lord's Prayer, I wrote all these poems to read a couple of Meherabad today, and one of them is modeled on the Lord's Prayer. No need to stand or anything. It's a poem as much as a prayer. But it's something I wrote in 1997, just like to share. And it's for those who aspire to be only the slave of the Divine Beloved. And I call it the Slave's Prayer. Mehera in particular liked it and asked for a copy. It goes like this. Our Father, who art within us, mercy is your name. May your will be ours, so that this earth becomes our living heaven. Give us this day nothing except you. Forgive us for our wants and what they have created, and may we forgive our wrongdoers. Let us not lead ourselves into temptation, but let us follow your lead to salvation. For thine is the highest freedom, the deepest joy, and the perfect love forever and ever. Amen. While I'm at it, this is what I wrote in 2007. And it's called Nothing to Gain. And it's a plea or a prayer. Forever grateful let me be what you would that I should be. Push me down so low that I, prostrate, rise to reach your sky. Forever grateful without pause, stopping time and space's laws. Pull me to the breaking point, where these tears for you anoint. Forever grateful for God's hammer that has led my mind to stammer, while it shapes my life anew with each blow that rains from you. Forever grateful, O dear Lord, for the mercy of your sword, cutting out all self-sown sin, leaving nothing where I've been.
James.
So, a little known quote of Baba's, and unfortunately I don't have it here as a direct quote, so I'm paraphrasing it. But Baba said that the two most important places are Meherabad and Meherabad, and that they are like the two eyes in the head with the one focus on Baba. Mm-hmm. So I've always felt that this is the center of the universe. Mm. We're so blessed to be here.
Yeah.
And we're here during the Avataric period, which Erich and Ani and Mani would explain, extends for 100 years and a little more full force, as though he was in the physical, as if he were in the physical body. And it's a time to make hay while the sun shines. Baba said that he was Shankaracharya, the perfect master. So I'm guessing that it must have been one of his in-between incarnations. He was perfect. And he talked about what the three most important things are. The three most important things. First is to have a human form. So whenever I'm feeling pretty down about myself, knowing, wow, I've made it all the way up, I'm in creation, all the way up, stone, blah, 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 human form. And of course, it's the only form in which we can realize God. And second was to have love for God. And we have that, at whatever level we have it. And as Darwin Shaw used to quote Meher Baba, if you love me wholeheartedly at your level, eventually I will take you to my level. It isn't like we have to be these saints. Just love him wholeheartedly at our level, and eventually he will take us to his level. So we have two of these three things. And the third most important thing is to have a master. And needless to say, we have a master, and we have the master of masters, and we have him during the Avatarian period, and we have him when his manifestation will be the greatest. So, oh joy. Let's see, some Mandali stories. Mehera, Mani. I'll tell a personal story. My first visit to India, I was not a Baba lover, and came to Baba while here. And one of the things that brought me to Baba, excuse me, I'm a emotional guy, is that just looking at her eyes, and mind you, I wasn't a Baba lover, but just looking at her eyes, there was such love, I couldn't concentrate looking at her eyes. I had to look away. It was too much. Mani's eyes.
Oh, Mani.
Yeah. And that played a key part in my coming to Baba, that incredible love, reflected in Baba's love. And that went on for the entire 3.5 months I was here. I only looked for a glimpse. My cup was too small to hold that amount of reflected Baba love. Came back 2 years later, same story, entire trip, another 3.5 months. Came back 2 years after that, and Baba put enough of a veil across I could look to her eyes and hold the gaze. Still seeing incredible love, but not overwhelming. It's amazing what Baba can do through his close ones. Mehera, I could not figure out my entire first trip. I was in my mind too much. And I thought, gee, the other Mandali are hugging us, you know, and she seems to be hugging the women. What's wrong with us men? We won't go there now. But, I knew she was different than anybody else I'd ever seen or met. When I came back for my second pilgrimage, without my knowing it, something had changed, because right away I started to get more who and what she was. But really, of course, much more as time went on, but it wasn't until after she dropped the body, Baba gave, there was some block there, and it didn't feel like a block, I loved her, but more was revealed. And what happened was, we got word in the West, in Myrtle Beach, that she was not going to be around much longer. So, of course, we were stunned. And I remember going out after the meeting in the meeting place, walking up toward the refectory. And I had only learned recently how to look in the moon. John Haynes, Charles Haynes' brother, had shown me how to look in the moon and see Baba's face. And I'd seen it a number of times at that point, not too many. And he seemed to always be looking more or less from right to left. Well, anyway, I looked at the moon after that program on the center, and somehow, just intuitively on there, she's going to pass on tonight. So that was a preparation. It was actually helpful when I got the call at 1-something in the morning. And couldn't sleep the rest of the night. Went outside and looked out, and there was only one place in my yard where I could really fully see the moon, and there it was. And as Jane Haynes said louder, it was kind of a cloudy night. Baba's face was shrouded in white with the clouds around, and he was looking straight up. And it just all seemed so precious and poignant, and I thought, should I go back to bed? Should I stay here? And I just stayed out and watched, and I was just waiting for sort of a sign what to do next. And then all of a sudden, you know how pre-dawn the birds sing? Well, a bird lit on my mailbox, a mockingbird, just put out 3 notes, the same notes, 1, 2, 3. And then the other birds, I started to go in and started the chorus. And we all have our own experience of what Baba's presence is when we feel it deeply. But Baba's presence attached to Mehera had a Meherabad feeling, a Baba Mehera feeling, and that was so present. And then what happened that night, I think it was that same night, there was a sharing in a meeting place at the Senate, and people were telling stories. And most of the stories about Mehera, of course, were from the women. And that's what opened it up. Baba's so kind. And as always with those kind of gatherings, it wasn't just, there was sadness, but also the laughter. It was that beautiful combination of those who have been to memorials for Baba's close ones and his love as we die. That seems to be the way it works. So, thank you, Baba. I remember the last time that I saw Mehera, well, the last 2 times. Thank you. It was in 1986, so 3 years before she passed on. But this is a few days before, and she was out at Meherabad, and the women, people were going up to Mehera under the tin shed and giving the greetings. And as the years went on, I didn't become more talkative with Mehera, I became less. And I wanted to go up and salute her, but she had begun to eat. And that's when I said, I gotta do it now. She had a mouthful of cake. And I went up, say, "Bye, Mehera." And Mehera was so responsive to anybody's love for her or Baba. Mouthful of food got up and changed like that. She was just so attentive, just so sensitive. Back in the day, well, first I'll tell this other story. The last time I saw her, a little later, was on the porch, and I was down below, and I said, "Mehera, I'm leaving." And she said, "Will you take Baba with you?" Found me. I'm thinking, well, this is beautiful, but of course I'll take Baba with me. But I found myself going, "Yes, Mehera." And the second time, "Will you take Baba with you?" "Yes, Mehera." Same thing a third time. It's so beautiful, but still scratching my head, why 3 times? Of course I'm going to take. I didn't realize that Baba would always say when people talk, "Take me with you, take me with you. You're really feeling it now, maybe you won't be so much a little later, but take me with you." And Baba would do that to inculcate it, to really have it sink in deeply. And I found myself during my next pilgrimage, you're not thinking about it, being at the tomb going like this, and oh, that's what Mehera did. Oh, it's so many other things. It's like Baba's your baby. It's also like a cross, But little gifts that would come. But I remember my first pilgrimage in 1975, and I was leaving in 76. And people, back at that time, you could ask Mehera for Baba's hair. And boy, did I look bad. But I thought I knew, and should I be asking for it? And what if she says no? It would be so humiliating, but it would be fine. But I'm just a wreck. If I remember correctly, I was actually sweating with fear of doing this, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But somehow I did. I didn't know what she was going to say, and I went up on the porch, and she said, "Oh, you want Baba's hair?" And she literally ran into her room to get it. That's Mehera. This was fun to love. And then I was even more of an adult. She came out, she had 2 little packets. Which one do you want? You know, looking. Which one do I want? And then finally she made the decision, which was the best. She said, this is Baba when he's older, with the older hand. Dropped it into my hand. And that was that. So sweet. Another story with Mehera was, as many here know, she would come out on the porch at a certain time, and many of us would be at Mandali Hall with Erich and Mani, and then word would come that she's out on the porch. And Erich would always say, Mehera's on the porch, go. And those who wanted to go would go. He never would say, of course, I'm in the middle of a story or anything of the sort. And sometimes I would stay, sometimes I would go. Most of the time I would end up going, not right away, go over to see her. And the oddest thing would happen. As soon as I would see her, I'd be at the back end of Mandali Hall, and I think, there's Mehera. And she would turn like that and back to the conversation. I thought, how could she hear my feet on the ground? You know, I came to learn from stories from other women that she would pick up on any love for her, you know, or Baba. There's one woman who was a resident here who said that she would be on the porch with Mehera, and if she was thinking something about, I can't stand my roommate, you know, Mehera would shoot her a look. But if she was thinking, oh, Mehera loves Baba so much, or something like that, she would smile at her. You know, she was that feeling. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions or things. I can talk about other Mandali or more stories about Mandali or Mehera.
How old were you when the first time came around?
I was 28. 28.
Oh.
I was sort of in that wave of those of us who were all in a few years of the same age and came within a few years of each other. It was 1975, so it was a little older, a little later. And would you like me to talk a little bit more about?
Please, yeah.
Okay. I was an agnostic. PK was an agnostic. PK was the preacher's kid. And then 2 things changed in 1970, which perhaps not coincidentally is the year I heard about Baba. And one is, this may sound strange, but I took a psychedelic drug, which is similar to LSD, called mescaline, and it made me aware that there was a God. Of course, I thought I was experiencing God and all this kind of nonsense. Baba once said, for a few sincere seekers, LSD will lead them toward God. But then they continue using it. Not a good idea. So, anyway, that alerted me to there being a God, took me out of my agnostic phase. Agnostic leaning toward atheist, but I was very much interested in the truth. What's the truth? What's real? What's it all about? The other thing was, I had a girlfriend, and we hadn't been together long. She didn't live in the same town, and she broke it off. And she said, my feelings for you just crumbled. And we've all been through this kind of thing. Most of us, it was just devastating at the time. But it made me search some more. Because I remember I used to tease her. And one time I told her who had been strong influences in my life, a professor, my trainer, physical trainer. And how about you? She said, no person, just God. At that time I couldn't tease her. And after she broke up with me, I started to look into God. As with many of us, not all of us, I dabbled with this and that. And over the next 5 years, it grew and grew and starting to feel more and more. And actually, that was the same year I heard of Baba, but I started ignoring him a year later after I found out. A friend of mine wrote me from India, a close friend. He was traveling around the world. And he wrote me, he said, Meher Baba says, don't worry, be happy. And it wasn't the message, not to worry, be happy. There was just some feeling, all I can say is of light, something of joy. And he came back and he said he met these people that were followers of Baba on a train station in India. And they told him that Meherabad was the avatar. I didn't know what that meant. But he said Meherabad kept silent for 20 years. I thought, wow, that's impressive, you know. And then he started talking about macrobiotics. And what happened in 1971, a year later, I was working as a social worker in the welfare department. Been there since 69, but I was burnt out. And I quit. And I sold many of my possessions, stored my car, stored stuff in my parents' house, bought a new backpack, a tent, a sleeping bag, hiking boots. I'm going to hitchhike around the U.S. It's really the tail end of the 60s. And round I went. It was fantastic. And I was in California in a little store, and there was a free pamphlet. It said Meherabad. I picked it up. Oh, yeah, that guy. So I didn't read it at the time, but I was walking out of the store trying to find a good hitchhiking spot. I hitchhiked for 2.5 months, never stayed anywhere longer than a week. It helped me a lot. Anyway, I started to read, and Meherabad says that he's God, and also that LSD is bad, you can't experience God on it, really. It can alert you to God, and the highest it can take you is the shadows of this subtle sphere. It's very dangerous, don't mess with it. I wasn't taking drugs at the time. I had taken some, and I took some later on, but it put me in a state, saying that he was God. He produced a strong emotion in me, and Baba works with emotion, whether it's positive or not, i.e. Colonel Ronnie. Anyway, I felt like I was going to pass out. I was angry. I didn't know what to do. And I think I ripped it up. I don't know. I threw it down. Mind you, I'm starting to get more and more in spirituality over the years. So over the ensuing years, too, I'm looking into this, into that, and occasionally I come across, oh, look at that picture. Oh, that's Meherabad. You know, well, what's this book in? No, this person's put it like that. So this went on, but then 1975 comes along, and it's getting pretty strong. And Baba sort of re-enters my life. I go up to visit a friend, maybe 100 miles from where I live, and he's not home, his wife is. It just went unannounced like we hippie types did back then. And he had a picture of Baba. It's the one who had, if you've been to Baba's house in Myrtle Beach, there's a painting there of a picture of Baba in the living room. He was dashing, he was young, his hair is back. And it was that photograph. And I'm like, wow, that's Meherabad, you know. And anyway, I went back to visit them again. I said, where's that picture? Oh, you know, Carl, he takes things down, puts something else up. And I was missing the picture. And then I started asking Carl and his wife, and they said, oh yeah, Meherabad, we know somebody who knows somebody that's been to India. There's this tomb is there, and there's a place actually it's in Pune, where there's this elephant that Baba loved, and an elephant tomb. Well, if I get to India, maybe I'll go there, you know, maybe not. But what happened is, my life was in a good place these days. I was living in a beautiful little town in Hadley, Massachusetts, a progressive area near Northampton and Amherst. People are familiar with it. And I was living in a household, not a commune, but we each had jobs and no common philosophy except we were all vegetarian. It was a beautiful place. And I was happy there. But this thing about God was really, I had to do something. I felt God's presence, and how can I make it all come together? Every little group I got involved with, there was something that wasn't quite right. And I did not believe in following a master. Because God is infinite and formless, and humans, they're not quite that, So that was set. That wasn't going to change. But what happened is I started feeling drawn to go to India. It was around the time when I said, what am I going to do? And then meditation didn't seem to cut it. It was sort of more of a mind thing. It wasn't from here so much. And I thought, I know. I'll do like I did when I was a little kid. I'll get down on my knees and pray to God. To make it all come together, to come to me, to let me know, to have it all coalesce. So I did. I didn't get down like when I was a little kid. By the way, my mother kept a baby book. I reread it recently. And she's writing, when Phil prays at night, they're pretty long prayers. Before my agnostic journey. So I got up on my bed, and I felt like this is the moment. It really felt like it was all going to come together. And I didn't know about avatars. But in my room, on the 4 walls, I had Islamic spiritual art. Of course, there are no pictures of Muhammad, who were way back when. And I loved that picture. I had a picture of Lord Ram. I had a picture of Buddha and a picture of Jesus. So, in that setting, I prayed. And I thought he would answer me. I was 100% confident, and nothing happened. And I burst down in tears. I was crushed. And then, of course, now I know I must have been Baba. After a minute or 2 or 3, whatever of that, I said to myself, wait a minute. He will answer me. I expected an answer right now on my terms. And my confidence came back. This thing about going to India got stronger. I had a roommate that had been there, but I was still fighting it. And I only had a 20-hour-a-week job. I was taking care of the retired president of Milton Bradley Game Company. He was in a fancy nursing home with his own staff and private duty people such as myself. And I could sleep on the job. My kind of job. So it was, weekends, 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., and we'd get him in bed, and then the nurse would leave, and all I had to do was turn him every 2 hours. And I'm a light sleeper, no problem. The pay was pretty good. It was not enough to get to India. So what happens is, it gets stronger, this feeling about going to India. And then I thought, I had this other idea that I should buy wood stoves, because they were going up in price every year, and I'd buy wood stoves and then hold on to them, sell them, make this money. Either that or go to India for my spiritual answers, So I had a close friend, and I couldn't make up my mind, so I thought I'd bounce it off of him. And he thinks about it, he says, I thought about it, and I have a strong feeling you should buy the wood stove. I immediately knew I should go to India. So, but no money. So what happens is somebody left on leave of absence, and I was working 50 hours a week, traveling 19 miles each way back and forth. And then somebody else left for a while, and I had 70 hours a week. Before you know it, I had the money. And I thought, I need a little bit as a cushion. Well, my parents had taken out 2 life insurance policies as a baby, so I sold, cashed one in, got another $200-something, bought my ticket for $700. And by this point, welcome, Mikhail. By this point, I really felt that I would go to India and God would guide me to all come true. So I tell one of my roommates this, and it's sort of like, So I shut up about it. I just started telling people I'm going to India for spiritual purposes and to see this beautiful, wonderful country. So I go, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll visit ashrams. I'm not going to follow a guru, but I could ask them questions. And maybe I'll just concentrate on North India. And so my ticket was into Delhi, $700. And then before, a few days or weeks before I was going to go, someone said, it's really cold up there. So I switched it to Bombay. It was another $35. Before you know it, I'm in the Bombay airport. It's not the current one. It's the one that's now the domestic, but it was smaller. And, you know, I was pretty fearless in those days. I'd, been through Europe, hitchhiked around the U.S., independent sort. And, but Baba must have been working on me. I didn't get much sleep on the plane, and I arrived, and I freaked out in the airport. That's embarrassing but true. So, you have to sign this thing, this declaration of what you're bringing into India, and they tear it off, and you sign it, and you need that to get out. And so this guy comes by, and he says, "Here, let me take that, I'll be back." And he wasn't the guy that took it as he went out the door, and he never came back. How am I going to get outside? Meanwhile, there's people pressed right up against the glass, and I'm freaking out. And I'm thinking, I'm going to go back to America. And then I realized the ticket or the visa, something stipulated you had to stay for 2 weeks. Oh, what am I going to do? And I'm beside myself and this and that. All of a sudden, this woman comes up to me, and a Westerner, and she says, "Hi, my husband's over here. We're going into town. Would you like to go into town with us?" I said, "Oh, yes, I would." I'm freaking out inside, right? I get over there, he says, "I saw you over there." I said, "Poor guy, he's so confused. I have to help him." He said, "I was walking around in little circles." So they were people that came from Nantucket, and they would come and buy stuff from the little store and bring it back and sell it. And they took me under their wing, went out, we got out somehow without that thing, and waited in the parking lot in one of those old ST buses, and I'm freaked out, I'm starting to calm down, but I'm still freaked. And then the sun rises, and I remember there's a palm tree, and I saw India, and I said, "I'm home." And I knew I was home. So, then we go into the bus, and they're looking for a guy to stay, and they're going from one place to the other, and they're not finding a place. And I remember seeing all these bodies on the sidewalk. People sleeping outside, didn't have a place to sleep, whatever it was, but I thought they were dead people. I see dead people. So, I was pretty naive. But I remember, we got off the bus, and that's just the weirdest thing. I was like the last one off the bus, and there's this little Indian man, for who knows what reason, a white turban on and white. He says, "Good morning, Baba." Maybe a harbinger in some unusual way of things to come. So I hung out with these people for a couple of days. They showed me the ropes. Back then at the train station, if you were traveling, you went in one line to get your ticket, another line to get your seat, or else you were in bad shape, And there was first, second on reserve, the last. So I decided I'm going to go see India the funky way, the lowest class, which I'm glad I did for a while. But before that, these people, they were showing me all these things, how to haggle prices, and I became relaxed after 2 days or so with these people. And then they said, "We're taking a ship down to Goa," which I did later. "Do you want to come with us?" And I said, "No, I've got other agenda here. Thank you so much." And they split. And they're, "Well, exactly what is my agenda?" You're going to guide me? So what to do? So the travel agent gave me brochures, and one was for Ajanta Cave, one was for Ellora Cave. Okay, I'll go there. So I leave Bombay, and I'm on the lowest class of train. And I'm sitting there, and it's all Indians. As I recall, it was all Indian men. And back then, I guess it still happens in India, but they just stare at you like And there was one man who spoke a little bit of English, and I had long blonde hair and a long beard, and he would touch my hair. It was so cute. And then, one of them fell asleep on my shoulder. And then I remember at one stop, this man comes on and he's selling like toddler's clothes, like for 2 years old. And it's all men, right? He throws them down in our lap and that will not go in the U.S. Like, what are you doing, man? Get out of here. They're always like their entertainment. You know, like, how cool is this? Baby clothes. I'm not going to buy it, but it's fun. So that was really something. And then they took, the next stop comes, he grabs him, he hustles off. Next stop comes, they're all talking. They're all excited. And 2 or 3 of them rush off, and then they come back and bought me tea.
Aww.
And then their excitement was to watch me drink it. Oh, I just loved India. So I get to Ajanta Caves, I explore the caves, stay there overnight, and I go to Ellora Cave, stay overnight, go to the caves the next day. I'm just loving those caves. Anyway, so at Ellora Caves that day, I'm starting to not feel so hot. I'd been out in the sun without a hat, hadn't a clue. And I thought, I'm going to go back to my lodge. And for the first time that day, I thought, God was going to guide me. And I'm loving India, but, when is this going to happen? When is God going to come to me? So, started a little bit of a doubt, and I didn't know where I was going to go the next day. So then I thought, I'll just go in one more cave. Well, it's cave number 10, the Carpenter's Cave, the Sitting Buddha Cave, Baba's favorite cave, the cave in which Mani said that she had her one, quote, spiritual experience. Where Baba spelled out, I am Buddha. She had to speak it out. And she said she just went some other place. And sort of like I'm putting words in her mouth, but the infinity of that, whatever it was, she said it went on. It's timeless. She said it may have been 2 seconds, no idea. But she never forgot it. Well, I went in there, and one of the things I used to do was TM, but I had stopped. But I thought, well, I'll just do that meditation anyway. It never really cut it for me. And I had met a number of spiritual persons, including him one-on-one. Anyway, cast him aside. It helped something. So I do my meditation up in the balcony facing the sitting Buddha. And the meditation was so mellow that day. And somehow I knew it wasn't the meditation, it had nothing to do with TM. And I was feeling in a really unusual, special, fine place. And then I walked out. And something happened. And what happened is best as I can on the surface describe it, is I felt God behind me like a warm sun. And I can't remember if it was over the right shoulder or the left shoulder. Under holy smokes. You read about things in the books. People have experiences. And this is happening to me. God has
clean the tissue next to me.
Thank you. God has come to me. But still, it's like the sun's in the back of me. I later remember, I used to hassle Elizabeth Patterson. I'd visit the center and I'd say, I want to talk to you. And she was a behind-the-scenes person. Kitty was the person we went to. And I figured, we're getting older and I want to have a little time with her. Yes, someday. Finally, I go over and I talk to her. She doesn't seem to be too happy about it. But she told me this story, I can still remember her face, sitting in Dilruba. She said, Baba said that it's like the sun is there, and I'm paraphrasing, it's like a warm sun behind you. And then there comes a point where you turn around and you face the sun, and then it really begins. So the sun was there, waiting for the next step. And I went back to my little lodge, and I had a book. And I can't remember whether it was called A Spiritual Guide to Planet Earth or A Pilgrim's Guide to Planet Earth. It was like a cool hippie book. And it was temples and ashrams all over the world and how to get there and all that. And so I'm going to go to the closest place. I must go there and talk to the guru and get started with this. I felt the Lord helps those who help themselves. You know, God's going to guide me, but I got to play my part. So I'm looking through the book, and there's maps, and there's this and that, and it says, Amanagar, Meherabad's tomb is here.
Wow.
All it said. Oh yeah, Meherabad. You know, not alive. Right. So I'll give him 1 hour, and I'll talk to him in the tomb. I wonder what the second closest place is. Rajneesh Ashram, Pune. So, but I only put a star next to Baba's. But I thought, okay, I'll go there next. Because the only connection, tenuous as it was, I had in India was my roommate's friend was a Rajneesh follower. Didn't know next to nothing about Rajneesh, but I thought it would be nice to visit him and check that out. So, anyway, the next day, I'm feeling sicker because I've been out in the sun. And I'm taking an ST bus to Ahmednagar. And I have to stand. It's all Indians on the bus. And there's a driver and there's a conductor. I can picture that driver, short, kind of pudgy guy, mustache, conductor's cap, uniform, and gruff. And I'm standing next to him thinking, how am I going to make this hours-long drive, feeling sick like this? And he says, he looks up at me, what is the purpose of your visit? And I said something like, I've come to God, to India, I'm looking, I'm interested in God, something like that. He says, oh, you have come to my country for God. Please take my seat.
Oh.
It wasn't gruff anymore. Can you imagine in America? Something like that? This country. So later on, he got tired of that. He made some poor guy get up and But it was very nice. And I sat next to some guy who was studying to be a doctor, and he had pawn. Oh yeah, I'll try some of that. Not my thing. Not a thing to take when you're not feeling well. So anyway, my mind starts working. I get into Ahmednagar. The bus is stopping just for 10 minutes in Ahmednagar. It's going on to Pune. Meherabad, too. I want to talk to somebody. I'll stay on the bus and go to Pune, Rajneesh Ashram. Baba had other plans. The bus, 10 minutes come and go. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So I'm angry. I'll stick with plan A. So I'm sick and I'm angry. And I get off. And there's a rickshaw man there. And I'm a little proud of myself. He says the price. I say, nay, kid that price. Nay, this amount. And we haggle and finally meet somewhere, and he agrees. I get in. Take me to Meherabad's tomb. He drops me off, and then he demands a higher price. So I'm even more upset. I give him the higher price. And I don't see a tomb, and he's taken off. And then I look. No, that says Sarosh Canteen. He dropped me off at the trust compound in Ahmednagar, outside the gate. So I started walking downtown toward the meals. And I thought, well, he dropped me off up there, I should go back. I went back, saw the gate, walked through, and there's the first white face I've seen in a couple of days. And he's looking me up and down. And it's a real, what we used to call straight person back then. It's short hair. And I've got long hair. And he says, why are you barefoot? Yes, it's true. And I wasn't walking around India barefoot. I had taken them off. I said, because my feet are hot. I'm thinking, who are you, my mother? But I knew he meant well. Of course, he was right, And he said, why are you here? I said, I've come to sit in Meherabad's tomb for 1 hour. And he said, it's not here. And my heart sank. I thought I was in the wrong city. Of course, it's a few miles away. But I didn't know I had those kind of feelings for Baba. But now to go back a little bit, before I left for India, there was another picture of Baba. The person who first told me about Baba came back into my life. I saw the picture I first saw of Baba, the I am the Ancient, one little card. But this time it looked different. I said, Ziggy, those eyes, look at those eyes. Yeah, they're nice eyes. No, don't you see? So a bit of the veil had been removed in preparation before I came. So anyway, this man says, it's not here. And then he explains a few miles away, but it's the end of the workday, and I said, I've come to sit in Meherabad's tomb for an hour. And he said, you really should stay for 3 weeks, and I'll get you situated. You can stay at the Dalat across the street, and let me show you around the trust before that. And he put his arm around me, and I thought, I'm staying an hour, I'm staying 3 weeks, and this could be a cult. And also, I'm looking for a hipper brand of spirituality here. And so then out of the trust office walk Virginia Small and Ronald Gailey, and they had on sneakers. And I thought, this is rich. Little old ladies in tennis sneakers. I think I'm out of here. But I'll accommodate this guy and nod my head and take a little trust tour.
Was the guy Jack or who?
Jacko Caraco. The first number I ever met. I saw one when I met him before.
What year is that?
1975, probably December 8th.
He was the what you ever met? I heard.
The first Baba lover I ever met. So anyway, then I saw those two ladies. And then he takes me in Adi's office where we used to register, and there are like 20 pictures of Baba up there. And I thought, this could be a cult, but maybe they're just childish. 2 weeks later, I was buying up those pictures like candy. Anyway, so I came out and I'm trying to decide, whether I should just go to bed and get out of here or go to the tomb the next day or what. When I'm introduced to David Fenster and Peter Nordine. And they said, hi, we're going to eat at the Mayur. You might remember the Mayur, a South Indian restaurant, hot food in downtown Ahmednagar before the NPC. So, but what happened to me was I had a very similar experience to what I had the day before coming out of the cave. I felt this bliss of God. I mean, it's probably an atom of the seventh shadow of God, but it knocked my socks off. Coming through them, I knew they didn't know it. I said, this must have to do with Meherabad. So I said, yes, I'll come to dinner. Made the mistake of eating, so on top of the heat stroke or whatever I had, I got food poisoning. But they talked about Baba, and they were a little pushy. And I was a little standoffish. I'd say, well, what does Meher say about? And they'd say, well, we call him Baba. I'd say, well, who are you to say he and I aren't on a first name basis? I can't believe I was like that. So, anyway, I ate. And I went back to the Dala and didn't get out of bed for maybe 5 days. And I thought that, if you had to go to the bathroom, number two, you could always control it. I didn't realize that isn't the case. So I was soiling my bed. I was so grateful to the servants there at the Dala. But it's sort of like, I think it might have been in this saying, at least I can suffer in peace, And then someone comes in and says, hi, J-Baba! I said, what? He said, J-Baba, aren't you a Baba lover? I said, no, I'm a lover of God. I'm sick. What are you doing here? This poor guy, it's his first trip to India. He's finally come, and he's thinking, I'm stuck with this sick guy, and I'm thinking I'm stuck with this cliche-ridden guy, and I thought I had to ruin it myself. Well, we became friends. It was John Bouvet. So what happened is, Peter Nordine and David and Jonathan and Alan Connie, other people that were staying, Andrea Windsor, they'd come by to see the sick boy, and I had questions, and one of them said, do you know about the mandali? I said, what's the mandali? They said, you had to experience it for yourself. So quite a bit after I met the mandali, I was still wondering, what's the mandali? Is it some initiation? I didn't know. The joke was on me. So anyway, but they also said, you should ask your questions to this man named Erich. You should meet this woman named Lonnie. And but they didn't say that they were monitoring. So no, when I'm better, I'm getting the tune, and 'cause I'm here seeking God. This is one of the places. That's that. So, but then I wake up, the first morning I'm better, people have already split to go out, but Peter Nordine waits for me. Come on, you can go to the tomb tonight. Okay. So I go out with Peter, and Eretz is not standing, it's just about time when he's going to go in the hall. The queue is finished, they've all hugged people, and he's standing out in front, in the sort of, the ground in front, about 30 feet in front, which isn't where he usually stands. That figures in the middle later. And he said, "You must be Philip. We've been hearing so much about you." He gave me a hug. And, my antennae were up, and I crumbled. And I was put into a daze. And there's a phrase that Darwin Shaw uses. I felt like I was in a fairyland. And the phrase is love shock. I didn't know what had hit me. I remember Arsenio said to me, "It doesn't seem like we're the adults and they're the children." That innocence. That's the word I often use with Mehera. I mean, there's the purity, there's the love, but her innocence. It includes the purity and all that. I have dreams of Mehera, and in the dreams, she's helping me more with my impurities and my lack of innocence, I feel. Glad I got to say that. So, anyway, I'm kind of in a daze. Eric goes in the Mandali Hall, and I'm sort of shuffled off to Balda too, who, the Mandali would say the sweetest things to us. I remember he said to me later on, "You and I are of the same Sanskaric tribe." I said that more than once.
Yeah.
We were both skinny, we were both intellectual stuff going on, loved Bible books. We both got chronic illnesses when we were 19, different things, and like-minded in other ways. So, anyway.
Tribe. That's interesting. I've never heard that explained.
Yeah. So he gave me the cook's tour, the short tour of Meherabad, and I'm in this love daze. And then he said, "No, we're going to Mandali Hall," and the doors creak, of course. And Eric must have been telling some lovely story about Baba, because when the doors creaked, all the faces turned, and I got this wish of love. I was toast already, and I didn't know it. So I go in, I still remember exactly where I saw it, where I sat. And I said, my mind was feeling Baba's God. My mind heard, no. And so I'm thinking, come on, mind, get a grip. So I'm fighting through the love shock, And it was a tough fight. And I thought, well, okay, I'm feeling like Baba's God, but God is all powerful. Aaron started to tell a story. I'm just thinking that. He said, Baba's on the train, it's wartime. He wants to be in his bogie, his compartment alone. But soldiers during wartime can go in any bogie they want. And they start to come into Baba's bogie. So the Mandali get up and try to keep them out. The soldiers actually raise their weapons and start to force their way in. Baba, of course, in complete silence, is standing on the bench, clapping, cut it out, bring them in, break out the tea and cookies, we're having a party. And in a short period of time, they're singing songs together with the Mandali. Like holding arms around each other. So, not only did that appease my mind about the power of God, but I was feeling it in my heart. Okay, Philip, but, what about the humility of God? There it says, reminds me of another train story with Baba. He said, Baba's on the train one time, and there's this man. Of course, in the East, in India, you don't put the soles of your feet toward another person, let alone the master. And this man was doing it. The Mandali wanted to stop it. Baba said, let it be. And the man kept that way. And then finally the man put his feet up against Baba's body. It was like during the night, Baba was resting, and Baba let it be. There's the humility of God. Balances out the power. It answered my question in my mind and in my heart. I'm still fighting. I'm thinking, wow, but God has a sense of humor. So the story is then told by Erich about Baba in the barn, and Harry Florsheim tells his off-color, not vulgar, but funny off-color joke, which I can never remember, about popcorn in a man's private part. So it's funny, so Baba laughed. There's someone back in the crowd who, okay, it was Jay Gaines. I'm sorry, Jay, I love you. She's having thoughts. This is inappropriate to say before the God-man. And it might have been 58 when she's just new to Baba, too. So at any rate, Baba says, Harry, tell the joke again. They didn't get it. So I told my story. At one point, someone said, oh, that would have really turned me off. But Baba tailors the story to each one of us, of course. So I'm thinking, holy smokes. It's feeling like my whole life has changed. But maybe Baba's just a certain percentage of God. Like 59%, 87. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And my mind is feeling threatened. My heart's A-okay. So I'm too tired to go to the tomb that night. So I'm going to stay another couple of days. And I'm going to start reading, and I'm going to I went back and wrote in my journal, Erich is the wisest man I've ever met.
Wow.
The way my brain works is, you would think I would write something like, so far as I can tell, at this point in time, he's one of the wisest men. No, I'm not. So anyway, the next day I go out to the tomb, and, I'm thinking, maybe I'll have an experience to kind of been having here. Nothing like that at the tomb. And later on I came to feel the tomb isn't the place to get stuff from Baba, it's the place to get everything, to thank him, whatnot, Anyway, I went there, but it did feel just very pure, very clean, and there was something about the light that reminded me of, what's the artist's name, Vermeer? Yeah, where it's in a kitchen and the light shining through. It was like that. There was a purity. And I just poured it all out. I said, Baba, I prayed. Anyway, I told Baba what had brought me here, that I felt he was God in my heart, but I wasn't going to follow him. Master and my mind and this and that. And I wanted to know what percentage of God he was. I told him I was sincere, and I said, please help me. So I did all this from the bottom of my heart. My feeling is allow the key to be turned so Baba could work with me. Started reading God Speaks, this and that. Thought I'd go back and I'm going to throw one by Erich, and with my questions. I remember one of my questions was, Erich, every spiritual group has its phrases, and here people say, oh, I'm a Baba lover, and Erich cut me off. He said, Philip, there are no Baba lovers here. We're all just mice trying to catch each other's tails. He said, Philip, love, the real love begins on the sixth plane of higher consciousness. It begins there. But Baba in his compassion to encourage us allowed our little love to be called, ourselves to be called Baba's lovers. Well, that took the wind out of my sails. One thing after the other like that. So finally, I won't get into all the details, but I was a hard nut to crack, so he gave me things like, I'll tell one of the stories. It's Baba's birthday, and I'd always wanted to see the Southern Cross. Too lazy to get up early in the morning. You can only see it in this hemisphere. But I got up early one morning. It was a Baba celebration. Looked at the Southern Cross. Oh, thank you, Baba, for showing it to me. Shooting star comes across. Went back that night, saw where the Southern Cross was, but you can't see it at night. Said, thank you, Baba, for the beautiful day. Shooting star. Things like that, the little gifts that a neophyte Baba lover needed. So these things go on, and finally I get my 4 days out at Meherabad, which you could get 12 people could stay there for 4 days, no electricity, dinner at 5:30 because it gets dark, and carry lanterns, very beautiful. And I put in with John Gourmet and another guy had been picking on me because I was a hippie. He was dressed like he's ready to go to work in New York City or something. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be stuck with this guy. I'm going to defend myself now. and he did a turnaround. And I really felt it was because he realized Baba didn't like the way he was treating me. And he opened up about a big mistake in his life and how Baba forgave him. It really touched my heart. And I was this close to being really Baba's and having my prayer answered. And when I woke up that next morning, it was just all clear. Baba is God, he's my master, I belong to him, and he answered my prayer. And I'm telling that to my two roommates. It was where Ted and Janet used to live, in the interview cabin down there. And I felt this whoosh of love from the two of them, the joy that I had become a Baba lover. And then I saw in my mind's or heart's eye before me a red A. And it was like A for Avatar. It was like my red letter day. It was like, Mommy, I got an A on my report card. Really, it was all those things. It was so sweet of Baba. And when we first moved in there for 4 days, one of the guys said that people often have some dreams in that place. And I said, well, I didn't dream last night as far as I know. I don't remember anything. But they said that all night long I just said 2 words on and off. And when I woke up, I was a Baba lover. And I said, what was I saying? They said, you kept saying, oh, wow. Oh, wow. There's a little more to the story. So, what happened is after a few days, somehow on the mind level, I had a doubt about Baba. In my heart, it wasn't there. And I was so embarrassed and it was depressing. And I knew he was God and I knew he had answered. And I thought, I'm going to go out to Meherabad from the Dalit and just pour it out at the tomb. Baba will help me. And someone said they were going out there in Kendra. And so we're going out in the rickshaw, and I thought it's going the opposite direction. I thought, well, she has somewhere to go first. And funny, I said, where are we going? She said, Meherabad. I told you. I said, Meherabad, I need to lay all this out at Baba's feet in the tomb. So I didn't tell her this. So we get out there, and the Mandali, for the most part, are in the trust working, and we can't bother them out there. And I'm depressed. And a new Glow magazine has come out. And I open it up, and Baba says, after I've captured my lover and he is mine, he may have some mental doubts or something, but it's like he need not worry. It's my tug of war game on a mental level or something like that. But he is mine. He can relax. All left. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I can relax. And I looked down, and there was a pair of sandals, and it had the name of it or something about it. It said, relax. And I thought, oh, Baba's so perfect. And at that point, Baba, too, who was instrumental along with Erich and Mani in my coming to Baba and the internal things that happened, stepped in the sandals and gave me a hug. He said, Jai Baba, Philip. How perfect, you know. So anyway, then I had this feeling, okay, my whole life's been turned inside out. I have to assimilate my experience. And I was frenetic. I'm going to travel around India, assimilate my experience, and go back to the West. So I was going to go the next morning, and I got sick. I had moved to this new hotel called the Savoy, and I was alone in a room. There were some other people in another part of the building. I was so sick, I was too sick to go out and get help. I was frantic, high fever, extreme aches, and thank God Ali Khani came by. He was also helpful in my coming to Baba, as were others. And I said, get me a doctor immediately. And he said, give me your symptoms, I'll give them to Adi Kairani, and I'll come back with the medicine. So, Adi Kairani, there were two Mandali I couldn't relate to, being brand new. One was Adi, because he was so stern, and he would say, if I were to meet Rajneesh, I would slit his throat. and Alan saw how distraught I was. He told me this much later. He said he went to see Adi at night, and Adi came out in his underwear, and he said, "This boy's thinking of leaving, you want to kill his spiritual master." And he said, I will not say that anymore. So, and the other person I had problems with was Oliver. Childlike creature, like, "The world will end because of my dream," Baba said. So, lovely
Great
Oliver.
watchers of the world will be
So Baba, so Baba killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So, and I'm always wondering how these Mandali make their money. And I thought, I'm going to get a big medical bill. So he goes up to the trust, Alan tells Adi my symptoms. He gives him the homeopathic medicine. Oliver overhears the conversation, and he got inspired. "I feel Baba wants me to take the medicine to the boy." He bicycles all the way down to the Sablou. I was so touched. And then he says, "What? No Baba picture? Why no Baba picture?" Well, Barry Albert gave me my first Baba picture, and it was a card, the same card I first saw of Baba 5 years before. I am the ancient one, looking like Jesus. I said, "It's over there." "Oh, very good. Oh, very good." "Look, you take medicine. Look at Baba picture. Say his name. All the time. You will be on your feet tonight, all better tomorrow. Jai Baba." I thought, this is preposterous. How can that happen? But I'm Baba's now. I'm going to do that. And I did it. And I was on my feet that night. And it was all better for those days. But I felt, and the frenetic part left. And I felt, I'll still travel around India, but I'm coming back to Meherabad and Meherabad. So then I decided, I forget if it was before, anyway, shortly before I left, I told Erich, I'm with Baba now, but I have some karma to work out before I obey Baba. So I was not only going to assimilate my experience when I traveled around India and look at beautiful India and things like that, but I was going to do certain things one more time. Erich, who had been so helpful and so sweet, when I told him this in Mondley Hall, looked like he wanted to throw up. Or like I just socked him in the gut. It's only in the last few years that I have to modify that in my mind. I feel that Erich felt like I was socking Baba in the gut. Whatever it was, he turned on his heels without saying anything and walked away. And I was hurt. And I pulled him by the elbow and said, "No, Erich, I'm going to obey Baba, but I have some karma to work out first." Same look. He says, "Philip, you just tell yourself that to make yourself feel better about doing what you want to do." And off he went. And yeah. And I was so hurt, Erich doesn't understand. So I went around India and had a beautiful time. And maybe I'll just say it. It wasn't drugs, I was done with those, well done with those. But it was one more fling with a woman, single guy, mind you. And Baba said, "Once you have taken me to be your master, don't go to other masters." So, but I'm all the way in India, and there's these ashrams. I'm not going to leave Baba, I'm just going to do that. And I'll get this fling over with, and that's that. So, I take a ship down to Goa. I forget the order of this. And, oh no, I had gone to Rajneesh Ashram guiltily, and rationalizing a bit that my friend of a friend was there, and I was so turned off, especially back then. The vibe was holier than thou, hipper than thou, very sexual. They even had, I remember over the doors, bad trip counselor, stuff like that. they would have psychology groups where you get your frustrations out by hitting each other, broken arms, things like that. There was a woman at dinner who seemed to be shunned, all black and blue, depressed. They were mourning. Sad, sick place. In my experience. Anyway, so while I'm waiting for Rajneesh to show up, he's not there, I'm reading some of the book, couldn't relate to it. Asked about my friend who is a medical doctor. I said, is Dr. whatever his name was, Smith here? Who? Dr. Smith. Oh, you mean Dr. Swami Gaudiogananda or something? And just the attitude was bad. I later tried to get the rickshaw driver to take me to his residence. He couldn't find it, couldn't even visit him. So anyway, finally they're all rushing out the gate. Rajneesh is coming in his car apparently. Should I go? No. Went out the other exit and left. But I'm not done with that. I figure, I know, I'll go up to Rishikesh, and it's not like going to an ashram and talking with the guru. I'll just happen to meet one of these rishis on the street and get a conversation. That'll be all right, won't it? You know? So I go up to Delhi, I stay a day or two. Next day I go to the train station in Delhi, which will take me up to Rishikesh. And there's 2 train stations in Delhi. I've gone to the wrong one, I missed the train. It's too late to go to the other train. I'm stubborn. Next day I go to the right train station. Traffic jam, I missed the train. The bus station. Bus doesn't come.
Wow.
I know Bob is behind it. So I'm reduced to going to a fortune teller on the street. So earlier in the day, I was walking down the street of Delhi, and a man said from behind, said, Jai Baba! I thought, how did someone know to say Jai Baba? Well, I come over to India with a little knapsack, 10 pounds or less in it, and I had a little Baba button on the back. This was this regal Sikh man, you know how regal they can be, the gray mustache, and yeah, quite a sight. And he said, Meherabad, no? I said, yes. And he said, oh, may I take you to dinner? And I said, yes, you know, we'll meet at a certain time, I'll go back to my little lodge, this and that. But then in the meantime, after that, I came across a fortune teller. So I give him a few rupees, and he says, write down a number, you know, you put it in his hand, and then he guesses the number, and then your favorite color. And instead of being impressed, I was spooked, you know, how did he know to do this stuff? It was not a happy experience for me. And then he said, give me a few more rupees, I'll answer your spiritual questions. Guiltily, I shell out the roots. And he says, oh, at this point I had met a couple people from the Rajneesh ashram. I'll tell you about that later. So it didn't go so well. A couple of women. And anyway, he said, you will be meeting a woman dressed in orange. No, that's what the Rajneeshis were wearing at the time. They said, yes, and you will leave the U.S. very soon with her and live together. No, yes. And he said, and you will meet your master. I said, I met my master. He said, you will meet your real master. And I yelled at him, I met my real master, he's Meherabad. And I ran away from him. And a depression came over. And, you know, I realized what I was doing. And I went back and washed up, and then went to meet this Sikh man who was had a carpet business and was traveling. And he started asking me, he said, oh, you've come from Meherabad? I said, yes, you know, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, whatever. And he said, oh, how is Sister Mani? How is Brother Erich? How is Uncle Pendu? How is Mehera? She is an angel on the earth. And I started to feel very homesick. And then he said, look, I am a Sikh We only believe in Guru Nanak and the succession, the lineage of gurus. But I met Meherabad 3 times, and I tell you, he is God in human form. Very powerful.
Yeah.
And at that point, I relaxed and just started to travel and assimilate and then came back. But I had to go back before with the woman thing. And I'd gone down to Goa on a ship. Back then they had a ship, 22 hours. And you could go different levels. I took the level where you slept on the deck, on a bolted-in bench, and you could watch by the moonlight the coast and the palm trees. It was idyllic. Food, awfully spicy, rocky boat. Anyway, got there, got down to Goa. Oh, on the ship, I meet these 2 women. And the one woman had been in the Rajneesh ashram, and her friend had come over from England to take her out of it because through either telephone messages or letters, her friend was getting stranger and weirder. She was married, her husband was back in England, and she came to take her out. And the woman was still talking glowingly about Rajneesh, but was all messed up because of him. And I remember that woman telling me, she said, Rajneesh will have you do anything for God. He'll have you make love to another woman. She's talking about herself. Foursomes, whatever. Shave her head was shaved. She was tripping down in Goa after we got down there. So sad. But her friend that came to take her out was a nice woman, and I got to know her, and we were hitting it off. And we got down there, and after a day, I think, I thought, well, tomorrow's the day that I finish off that karma. I got sick again. 9 days. I had come from Meherabad, Baba, to, down to go, girl, to, ooh, ouch, Baba was having his fun with me. He was so kind of Baba, really. So that never happened. I realized I was so young in Baba's love that Baba was demonstrating for me like a little baby. Later on it was, if you would attempt me.
Yeah.
But it's very kind, very sweet. So I got the obedience thing early on. There may be differences with different people, whatever, but that was the case with me. And I remember leaving Goa and thinking, it's so beautiful, the food is cheap, and nude beach, people walking around without clothes, and all this kind of stuff. And it was sort of like paradise. So what? Get me the hell out of here. Take me back to dirty, drab, dusty Ahmedabad, where the love is.
Where the love is, yeah.
So, I finished up my travels at some point there, and I just traveled around at some point and just enjoyed India, and I came back, and I still remember Oliva jumping up and down like a little child. Philip's back. And, I remember retelling the story once, and Mani agreed. I came back and I said, I thought I was fully Baba's before I left on that trip. But when I came back, I realized my questions had changed. Instead of, why did Baba do this and why did Baba do that? It was like, what was his favorite color? What toothpaste did he use? Where can I buy some? The lover of the beloved's questions and answers, So, and then finally I'm thinking, I'm a poor man, I have health problems, I'll never get back to India. This is my 20th pilgrimage, by the way. And I'm saying goodbye to the Mandalay, and Arnava said, you coming back next year? I didn't come back next year, it was 2 years later, but somehow I was like, I'm coming back. And then I said goodbye to one of the other Mandalay, and it was just so sweet. And then I sat down between hugs, just enjoyed and savored it. And it happened to be where I sat when I had the doubt after I accepted Baba. And there were the same sandals of Baba II's in the same place. And then Baba II comes by again. I hadn't told him about the first time. Steps in the sandals, gives me a hug again, full circle. Then I go say goodbye to Eric. She's standing out where he never stands, except the first time and the last time, full circle. And That's how sweet our beloved is. My cup was so full, I thought, I can't hold it anymore. And they said, we have to leave in a few days. It's March 15th. So the timing and everything was just perfect. Yeah. Jai Baba.
So what did you do when you came back from India?
I got a 4-month leave of absence from my job taking care of that man. And so I went back to work with him. And I couldn't, I should add this story. So I went back and my space was taken in the place where I had been living. And Baba too loved the story. He said he loved it more than my story coming to Baba. And I came back and they let me sleep on the couch till I found another place. And one day I went out and I came back and this guy who was in medical school had come to visit my housemate. And I had brought back all these pictures of Baba, framed pictures. I had so many, I fell down in some of the glass broke on the way home. Anyway, he was a happy-go-lucky guy, not interested in spirituality. The closest he got to it was he was interested in seances and things like that. I never met the guy. I called him up afterwards to confirm this story. So he's talking to my housemate, and all of a sudden he sees the picture of Bob and he says, "That's the guy! That's the guy!" So my housemate tells me the story after I get home, and I call the guy a few days later to confirm it. He said he had gone to a party and taken some morning glory seeds, which have an effect like LSD. And he was at a party, and he went into a health state. So he repaired into an empty room, and he said, "God, please help me." Now, Baba said, if anyone calls out to me from the bottom of their heart, 100%. Oh, by the way, obviously Baba answered me, he's 100% God. 100% calls out to me that he will help him. And, Baba did more than just help him. When I called him up and confirmed the story, he said that when he said, "God, please help me," lying down on the bed, there were blazing colored lights, and then that guy appeared. And his bad trip immediately went away, and he was normal. And I said, what did Baba look like? Because my friend told me he was Meherabad. And he said, well, he had long hair and a mustache, and it was tied in back, and he had on a white nightgown. So, and I said, and then what? I said, well, the trip went away, I was normal. And then I asked him questions. I said, what were the questions? He said, they were personal. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interfere. And he said, but did he answer those questions to your satisfaction? Oh, yes. And then I said, was that it? He said, yes. And I said, well, there's a place connected with it in Boston where you live. He said, I'm kind of busy, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I just wanted to say one other thing. Do you know that Baba says he is God in human form? And he just kind of laughed it off. And I thought, well, Baba was there when he needed him, And I talked to Baba too later, and he said, well, it's like, he's here, Baba's there, he needed him, he came and he touched base and bounced back out. And there will be a connection later on. So, hey Baba. Just wanted to say something first, which is that what Zara was just saying, and that quote from Baba on the banner reminded me of something that Erich once said in Manly Hall. And I went back, I'd read all the Baba literature, and I couldn't find it. And so I came back a few years later, and both Erich and Mani were in the hall, and they both said, yes, Baba said this. And what it is he said was, singing is the swiftest way to me.
Wow.
The feeling is it goes right to the heart. I guess is this thing. And then Erich said, but what's even the deeper meaning of it, Philip? And I don't remember his exact words, but basically, you need to end up making your life itself a song to the beloved.
Wow.
In the beginning, when I would look in Mani's eyes, I was not yet a Baba lover. There was just so much love, Baba's love reflected from her eyes. Of course, I just saw it as this incredible love. I didn't necessarily make the connection at the beginning. It just stunned me, and I could not continue to look in the eyes. But, you know, a couple of weeks later, when I came to Baba, it continued, that love. And of course, I had a better understanding that it was Baba's love reflected. And it continued for the rest of that pilgrimage and the rest of the next pilgrimage.
Was this when you first saw her at the trust or Meherabad?
No, Meherabad, that's where I first met her. Yeah. Maybe I will tell this one personal Mehera story. I think I mentioned that I tended to get shyer as time went on with her for a while there. And it was my third pilgrimage. The first 2 or 3.5 months each, and the last was 4.5. And I had spoken with her very little. It was mostly just Jai Baba. And it was the day that I was, my last day visiting Meherabad. And I was so sad to be leaving. And particularly that I had not taken more opportunity to chat with Mehera and spend time around her. So I'm up there on her porch and I'm saying my goodbyes, and being an emotional type of guy, I started crying. And one of the Western women there said, "Don't cry, it upsets the mandolin." So I turned my back and composed myself as best as I could. And said my final goodbyes, and then walked off the porch. I'm beginning to walk through the garden, and I'm feeling very depressed. 4.5 months and it's over, and I didn't take a better advantage of my time with Mehera. All of a sudden I hear Monty calling, Philip, come back. Mehera wants to talk to you. Well, I had a cloth bag I had bought in the bazaar, and the picture that was depicted on it was of Mehera, Saint Meherabad, who Mehera really loved and Baba really loved. And she is drinking something that's been poisoned, but her faith was so strong, people may know the story, that she drank it and nothing happened, except that Krishna appeared. And in the depiction on the cloth bag, there's Meherabad with the saucer with a little Krishna there, the saucer. So I knew this story, but Mehera came down and said, "Oh, do you know the story depicted on the bag?" That's why she came down. And thank God I didn't put my foot in my mouth and say, "Yes, I do." "Oh, well, see you later." But instead, I said, "I'd love to hear it." Baba must have helped you. He's not that deft in those situations. And so, just about maybe this distance apart, I was facing Mehera, and Mani protectively holding her arm, which was very sweet to me. And for the next 10 minutes, she told me the story. And I have to admit, I wasn't paying attention to the story very much. Just looking at the beloved's beloved. And then I well up, and then I control myself, and then I look some more. And by the time I left, I went from feeling so depressed about leaving and not having time with Mehera to just sky high.
That's wonderful.
So,
should we Skype someone? They might have questions from them.
Look where this thing is now. It's just now is showing this.
Everybody
This is the internet. Just now
okay.
it's showing that.
5-10 minutes behind.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times it's only like a minute, but at least it's still showing most of the time.
And also Sai Baba.
You hear what it's showing you guys?
Gopal.
That's wonderful.
Well, if more stories are coming back to you, we have
Okay. Well, if there's some subject matter connected with Baba, that can trigger a story, perhaps. Something about.
What was when Erich told you not to be a fanatic? I love that.
It was
You told us.
stronger than that. So I'm a brand new Baba lover, and I'm having my first little dry period. And Erich is on the veranda outside Monterey Hall with two of my new friends, which made it even more embarrassing. And I went quickly up to Erich. I said, you know, Erich, I'm not feeling Baba these days, and I want to love him more. What should I do? Erich looks up like that and says, Philip, don't love Baba like a Nazi. So have some decency in your love. And I was shocked, you know. But I got it. And it's sort of like, I know, Baba, am I the master? You know, I want to feel your love, I wasn't thinking of the whims and caprices of the master. It's sort of like, come on, Baba.
Give it to me.
Yeah, but Baba knows what's best. Part of our spiritual training is to accept whatever. Baba said, take it as a blessing or take it as a test. Whatever happens for the best. And even though maybe we can't completely accept it, we can believe that it's true, and eventually it'll settle in more strongly. It varies with the individual, but at that moment, boy oh boy, what a shock. But as usual, Erich was correct. This is as if he is in the physical body, he's 100% present. You know, I think even more so in a way. Mani would say, when he was in the body, it's like he wrote the script for the movie, and now it's screening, now it's projecting. And the proof is, just look, all of us who have come to Baba since, Judy maybe before, and some others, but just what a beautiful thing. And this Mani was the person who said the sweetest things to me this lifetime. And I think that's true for a number of people.
Me too, yeah.
Yes, and it just touched me the most with the sweetness. Yeah. And it's what she said, but it was the feeling behind it, the sincerity, the helpfulness of it. She was another one like Mehera. I mean, I really appreciated Mani when she was alive, but it took on a further dimension, just like Baba does. And I forget what I was going to say there. Anyway, her death was the hardest death for me. I'm sure some people here might have been Val, along with my mother's. And it took me, when I write my poetry, it's not like, I should write this, or I think I'll write about that. I just wait, and if nothing comes, nothing comes. Nothing has ever come about Mehera, for instance. But after half a year, it came for Mani, and I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And then I realized it could be a complete poem, but I know more is going to come. And I waited, and another month later, the rest of it came. And so that's what I'll read. While Mani said the sweetest things to me in this life, Erich said the things that helped me the most spiritually. As someone said, you'd ask Erich a question, and he could answer the question behind the question that you didn't even know you had asked. And he could hit you if you could take it, or he could coddle you if you needed it. And I mean, all the Madhuri, look at them. Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to introduce it this way. There's some imagery in here that deals with the sky. Baba is the sun, the moon is Mehera, and you'll see what Mani is. And another part of the introduction is that there was a woman named Mabel Ryan. Some people may know of her. Baba said she would be a circle member next time. She was a dance ballet person with Margaret Crass. They had a business together, a ballet business, I think. And she was also close to Dealey and the others, and she died young, 40-ish or so. And Baba's Western disciples were neophytes, and it affected some of them. And Baba wrote Delia, who was affected by her death. Oh, it's a terrible thing. Baba said, I know how you feel parting with dear Mabel, but Mabel has not parted from you. She is closer to you now than she was or could be before. Love knows no separation. And because you loved her so much, nothing, not even death, as physical separation is called, can break that tie of love there is between you. Mm-hmm. Isn't that beautiful? Mm-hmm. So, here's the poem, I call it Love Letter. Who can write of Mani, who is more alive than me or you? Words must fail to measure one whose love light shone just for the sun. Yet your words made us feel blessed, dear eastern star, scribe to the west. Sparkling pointer toward our goal. In speechless rhythm I extol stardust caught while passing by in silent journey through night sky. Sprightful dancer to his tune, delightful guardian of his moon, sister of the avatar, the sister to us all you are. None so talented I've met, so in this world you were, and yet, nestled safely in his arms, removed from Maya's empty charms. Special in your eyes we seemed, your eyes reflecting love that beamed. What you saw was him inside, for from your sight he did not hide. So much love from you we felt. And what a card in you he dealt. Playful, youthful, joyous too. Obedient and wise, it's true. Grace and wit and charm most sweet. Your gifted light stayed at his feet. Love like this must take one home, and that is why our bird has flown. Mani dear, so present here. Now that you've left, you're yet more near. Twinkle, twinkle, crown jewel star. We don't wonder where you are. Everywhere with him you'd be, and closer than the things we see. Up above, yet with us still, inspiring pilgrims skyward till sunlight burns our crusts away, exposing veiled eyes to his day. How you shine for him alone, and yet we love you as our own. Paradox, it's true, you see, that all are one, there is no we. Sharing oneness all around, that is how his love is found. Hence it lies with us to take the love you've shown for Baba's sake. Turn it round and pass it on, thus turning darkness into dawn. Precious Mani, glowing bright, we wish we may, we wish we might, pay due heed to heavenly guides, which through compassion he provides. Selfless starlight, what a boon, in concert with pure Mehera's moon. Left to right, you shine for God, and center lovers on his nod. Homeward bound, we're sure to go, inspired by your tandem glow. Mani sweet, my words all melt, when what my heart from yours has felt. Thus, in silence this remains, that love gift shared without word stains. Nonetheless, these heart-sown words I've flung to you as my songbirds, celebrating within rhyme that gift untouched by space and time. as they soar through mystic skies, for those who see with lover's eyes. These last notes will spring like flowers across the night as cosmic showers. Thank you for the life you gave in being Baba's lifelong slave. Also for the light you are, still pointing toward the avatar. For getting all like you, dear friend, means love that lives beyond the end.
Beautiful.
Take your love.
Very beautiful.